we are going to be speaking to the National Association of Child and Youth Care Workers. So joining me here in studio, I have Margaret van Wyk as well as Lucky Zeleti. Margaret, who is a social worker, and Lucky, who's a child and youth care worker. How are you guys both doing today?
Good morning, Ella. We are doing very well, thank you.
And thank you for the opportunity.
It's always a pleasure. I'm glad the cold isn't getting to you. So, as we're going to be speaking about the National Association of Child and Youth Care Workers, I'm sure there are listeners at home who don't exactly know what the organization is about. So, Margaret, if you can just inform them about this.
Okay, I will inform you about the National Association of Child and Youth Care Workers, and Lucky will add onto the program that we are currently focusing on. So the National Association of Child and Youth Care Workers is an independent non-profit organization which provides the professional training and infrastructure to promote healthy child and youth care development and to improve the standards of care and treatment to troubled children and youth at risk in families, communities, and residential care settings. So within the National Organization of Child Association, of Child and Youth Care Workers, we have developed various programs which is focused on community-based work as well as school-based work. So within the community-based work, we have our sister program called the RCIA program that do deliver programs within the communities, which is then an entity from the Department of Social Development. And from the Isibini Sikuleni model, it's a school-based model of which Lucky will give you more detail about it.
Yes. Thank you, Margaret. The NACCW is a non-profit organization that has one program amongst others, the Isibindi Zikoloni program. This is a model that is innovative and school-based child and youth care work program. Now, the meaning of Isibindi Zikoloni is actually courage in schools. So it's actually a Zulu word developed by NACCW to provide school-based child and youth care services to children to meet the psychosocial needs of vulnerable and orphaned children, youth. The model places learners or trained child and youth care workers in schools to identify learners who are vulnerable and at risk to help them realize their developmental goals in respect to education, health, and their development transition into adulthood. Also, child and youth care, it also focuses on supporting holistic child development and intellectual, emotional, spiritual, social, and physical development of the learners in the school. And is also concerned with helping them to reach their greatest possible potential. The aspects of emotional, intellectual, and social development are the most significant psychosocial well-being.
Now, what I wanted to ask regarding all of this, I know that everybody knows especially that it is important for us to keep an eye on our kids.
Yes.
It is important for us to identify when a child is going through either abuse or neglect or anything even slightly remotely to that. But why, out of your opinion, is it important that people need to worry about other people's kids? Because we know there is this thing within our society and our community, you know what, this has nothing to do with me, it's not my child, I might be wrong, so I don't exactly know, should I just mind my business? Why do you think it's important that people also even know about the organization?
Yeah, it's important that people know about the organization because the organization provides support to families and children,
Yes.
whether it's about child abuse, child neglect, family support, children placed back in schools, children that drop out of schools. Our focus is actually to influence zero dropout rate. We support children through our community-based programs who doesn't have identity documents, parents that doesn't have documents to support them to get the documents. We also assist parents whose children doesn't get the child support grant. We do that, and we work closely with the Department of Social Development with referrals, especially when it comes to child protection. We provide the basic work, and then we refer to either the police, because it's the first walk of entrance when abuse occurs, to refer to the police to actually investigate, and also to social development, because we know that in terms of the Children's Act, social development is mainly responsible to make sure that perpetrators are registered on the National Child Protection Register, to ensure that they don't actually do work with children again, and also make sure that the necessary forms and documents are in place when it comes to the child abuse investigation. So our focus basically is holistically, like Lucky indicated, in the development of the child, focusing on child abuse and child neglect, child protection, but also, assist with in various other areas where we possibly can.
Wonderful. So, Lucky, also, lastly, what I also want to hear from you, we've been mentioning that it's Child Protection Week, but I'm sure there's many people that don't even know what it's all about, or why there's even such a thing as Child Protection Week. Does this mean it's only during this week that we, zero in on our children and, make sure that our neighbors, kids, and everyone else is fine, and that if we see anything which can be quite traumatic to a child, that we must actually do something about it? So, when we say Child Protection Week, what is it all about?
Ella, Child Protection Week is not only focusing on this week, we're also looking at beyond. Simply because of, as parents, we were not born to be perfect and looking after our kids. Quite a lot of our kids are getting neglected, they get abused in the community, wherever they are. Now we're working in the life space of this child. And that is where we come in to work with the parents. We're not taking over your child, or we're not saying this is now my child, this is our child. Look, we're looking into the development of this particular child. So looking at this week, we are focusing in protecting children. And most importantly, we're looking at how do they want to be protected, and what do they want from this protection. Now, this also comes in where we say we need more stakeholders to come in, to work with us and to see how can we protect these young people further, and the appropriate manner, because there's quite a lot of children who are going through this neglect and abuse, So this is the least that we can do. But if stakeholders can come in and assist, I'm sure we can help these children even much, much better.
Wonderful. So there's also something that you wanted to add, Margaret.
Yes, I just also want to inform that we celebrate Child Protection Week this week from the 29th of May to the 5th of June. But as you earlier said that, we need the community support as well, because child protection is not just an individual or organization's prerogative, but it's a whole community that needs to be involved. So the National Child Protection Week is actually commemorating in the country annually to raise awareness of the rights of children as articulated in the Children's Act number 38 of 2005. And also then the government noted, and we know that we hear daily basically about, we just heard this morning about a child as well in Bloemfontein, a matriculant that was raped, when she came from school. So there's various concern about various incidents that happen in community, which has been reported in the media, some have not been reported. So this include like kidnapping, bullying, children, involved in cyber abuse, children that get involved in, pornography, and all other acts that is not okay for our children to be exposed to, which is unacceptable. So during this week, we actually want to raise awareness. We want to tell communities and the society out there that we are running campaigns, we are running talks, we are doing everything. It's not just NACCW. Department of Social Development and all other organizations are doing something this week to highlight the importance of raising awareness, about the need of everyone in the society to protect the rights of our children. And I actually also just want to say that, it's our work to create safe spaces for children. whether it's in the home, whether it's in the society, whether it's in school. Children need to feel safe and protected, and we actually have to make sure that everybody come on board to protect children. And we have introduced the build up towards this program to allow children to map out, to say that, this is how I feel I am at risk in this community. This is the things that I feel I need to be protected against. And this is who I need, or I think needs to come and be involved in our protection as children. So we called it the mapping program. And that actually indicated to us the various topics that we need to speak about. We need to give these children voices, because it's not all children that report the abuse. Some children become voiceless because they are exposed to bullying. They are exposed to different avenues where they have to keep quiet. In the case where a child may be exposed to poverty, children will accept money for an act, thinking that it's okay because I am responsible to make sure that I put something on table. Which is not, children need to understand that it's not okay, that is not the way to do things. There are people out there that can help you. There are organizations out there that can help you. That is not the only way out. Some parents also feel that they themselves, experience forms of abuse, whether it's gender-based violence, or whether it is where they actually become depressed because they cannot provide in the needs of the children. And they then neglect the children in a way, because they become so intent with their own emotions and feelings and their own environment, where they cannot come out of that, and the children are then exposed to different situations.
Yes, so in all of this, we need to remember as well that, like you mentioned earlier on, it's important to help our children remember that they have a voice. It's important for them to talk about what is happening to them, what is happening to their friends. Sometimes you'll even find a child will tell another child, this and this and this is happening in my house, but don't tell anyone, or so and so. So it is important for us to remember, we as adults, it is our jobs to make sure that kids are safe within our communities. Not just our own kids, but our neighbors' kids, our sisters' kids. We want to make sure that every single child knows that they are not alone, and that there are people that are there to help them when they are in need. Now, early on, we were then also having a conversation with the National Association of Child and Youth Care Workers, and we were speaking to Margaret and Lucky as well, who are both social workers and child youth care workers. And here in studio with me at the moment, we also have Memoria Freeman as well as Vivian Sachaye, who are both child and youth care workers as well. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good.
We good, thank you, Ella.
That's wonderful. So as we're speaking also then now about the programs that is available then in the organization, and also for this week, as we mentioned earlier on, it is Child Protection Week, and we want to make sure that everybody knows that this week especially is of great importance, because this is now the time where we just remind everyone again of our responsibilities as well in terms of taking care of the children around us. So as it is now Child Protection Week, we know also earlier on that Margaret mentioned the National Association of Child and Youth Care Workers has a couple of programs available. Can you tell us a bit about this, Memoria?
Okay, good morning everyone and the listeners. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Memoria Freeman. I'm a child and youth care worker. My role in the child's life is to protect the children, to listen to the children, and to help them to feel safe. As Margaret mentioned, that we are also doing mapping art in schools, in schools. We did it 2 weeks with the children. We did engage with the children, and the children, they got opportunity to map out or to art what they are feeling. They express them through arting, through drawing. So one of the topics the children emphasized it was the bullying. They talk about the bullying. They mentioned teenage pregnancy. They also mentioned gender-based violence and how to protect them from rape and sexual abuse. And they also want us to protect them from alcohol abuse and drug abuse. children wants to see a drug-free city from abuse and neglect, safe spaces for children to play, community and stakeholders' involvement as a key to help stop child abuse and neglect.
Yes, and even in this, I think it's wonderful that we're hearing from the children themselves what it is that they are struggling with, what it is that they are going through, the type of help that they want. Even earlier, when Margaret mentioned bullying is also still a big problem that we are dealing with. So this is all quite wonderful. And then also, Vivian. Within some of these programs, we want to also speak about what will be taking place throughout this week and if the organization have things that will be happening.
Yes, we are having a lot of activities that will be happening. We will be in the different schools that we're working at. It's Rodepan Primary and Rodepan High, Renelwe, Isaho, St. Peter's, Muleabangwe, Floss number 2, Violwe 2, Platfontein Safe Park and Rodepan Safe Park, Lerato Park Safe Park, Soul City Safe Park, and Tonkarook, where we will be having our different stakeholders like the police, we'll have Department of Social Services, we'll have the Northern Cape Drug Rehabilitation Center to come and talk to us. We'll have the social worker who speaks on gender-based violence, During that time, we want children to know that there are resources that are available for them to support them, to find their voices, and tell someone that you're going through a difficult time.
Yes, so even with all of the school, it's a lot. So it's good. It really is good, and even to have the police present as well and the different departments also there, I'm sure the children will then even enjoy these activities because then it reminds them that they are also important. They are very special and they need to be loved and taken care of. So then lastly, also for the listeners who don't know about the National Association of Child and Youth Care Workers, perhaps they find themselves in a need to get in contact with you guys. Is there a number that they can dial or an email address or even an address that they can visit you guys at to find out a bit more?
Yes, there is. We are situated at Chondaga, 19340, corner Peacock and Freedom Road in Chondaga. People call it Isibindi, other people would say at the creche. We have an email address. It's kimberly@naccw.org.za or Margaret van Wyk @naccw.org.za. We use most of the time our cell phones to get into contact with people due to load shedding and us not being based in offices because we're based in community and at school. So my number is 071-420-1967.
And Memoria's number, my number is 076-910-2439.
And there we have it. Thank you both so very much then also for joining us here today.